Amen. There is some powerful truth in the lyrics of that song, and we're going to be hearing more about that today. By the way, I'm Dion. I'm one of the teaching pastors here, and life change happens in a variety of different circumstances to all different kinds of people. One of the stories that you keep hearing over and over again, though, is that sometimes it takes a low moment for God to finally bring you up, for you to turn to God and to ask His help, and then He comes in and He swoops you up and He takes you to a higher place. Sometimes He takes you far higher than you ever thought possible. And that's really the story of the next guy that we want to share his story. I want to introduce you to Rick Fessler. Will you welcome him to the platform? Morning. Thanks, morning. So Rick, your story is not all that uncommon, if I can catch us up on it. You were raised in church. It was an important part of your life when you were young. Then as you got older, it became a less important part of your life, to becoming a non-existent part of your life, really. And instead, you started pursuing a life that was more about having a lot of fun, money, success. Does that sound about right?
Fun, yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, fun. Fun, just kind of a nice blanket word. You can use your imagination. We won't go into detail about what that looks like.
No, we won't.
Yeah. But what was it that changed that? I mean, you're set in this path. You kind of shaken off faith and God and living your own life. What changed that?
It was a couple of things. First was a divorce that came out of nowhere and kind of rocked my world, and just didn't know what to do with myself. I was lost, and I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, and laying there one sleepless night, I don't know, it just came over me to pray. And
and now you hadn't prayed, you said, in years before this, probably.
Right, yeah. So I prayed, and this unbelievable feeling of warmth and comfort just flowed over me, and I don't even know if I finished the prayer. I just fell fast asleep. It was just it was amazing, and so
that's situation one. You said there were a couple. So what was the other one?
Yeah, so the second one came much after my divorce, a little bit later in life, and I'd returned from a business trip that had lots of fun in it, and came to find my car. Came home to my car was broken into, all my stuff was stolen out of it, and if that wasn't bad enough, I went inside my condo at the time, and the HVAC unit had gone out, so it was 100 degrees in there, and it malfunctioned where there was water damage. I don't even know how that's possible, but it was just a horrible situation to come home to.
Yeah, so you come home, your car's broken into, there's this disaster inside your house, and for a lot of people that would make them really frustrated, angry, and if you're talking to God at all, it's going to be like, hey, buddy, what's going on here? Why are you doing this to me? That wasn't your reaction. What was the effect of these circumstances on your life?
Yeah, I just stood there, not knowing whether to call the police or the plumber or an HVAC. I didn't know who to call first.
Call a realtor, just move.
That would have been a quick answer. But I just sat there and I just stood there and said, I'm not living life right. It was amazing to me. I had this amazing woman in my life that wouldn't give up on me.
Yeah.
And but
yeah, I mean, some people though, in those same circumstances, again, they would turn away from God, not toward God. What was it, do you think, that caused you see all this stuff going on and you make the connection and you say, I'm not living my life right. I need God in my life. What do you think triggered that for you? Do you know?
No, I don't. I guess at the time I could have gotten angry, but just looked around at all the blessings that I had, and again, I had this amazing woman that wouldn't give up on me, and I had a wonderful daughter in my life, and a business. It may not have been going very well, but it was a business nonetheless. But I had plenty of blessings that I was choosing to ignore for some reason.
Yeah, now you brought up your business, your company. That plays an important part of this story because from that moment on, God began to do a new work in your life. Yeah. And we'll hear about that in a minute. But also He began to do something new in your company, which is really, really impressive, that things started to change in your business after this very literal come to Jesus moment. What happened there?
Yeah, so at the time I had 16 stores between Missouri and Kansas, about 60 to 80 employees, doing about maybe $10 million in sales, so life was good, and but as I started, during my time of fun, I had allowed some really bad elements and misguided people into my organization at a very high level. So I went to work to clean those up, and through several series of coincidences, strategic moves, timing. I call it blessings.
Yeah.
God has blessed me starting in about February of 2013. I will finish this year with about 83 stores in about 11 different states, 645 employees currently, and pacing to about $90 million in sales.
Holy, that's crazy. I mean, that's God, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you're a good guy, you're smart, but that's...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, and you know it's God. I mean, to multiply your staff by over 10, to open up all these new stores, just incredible. And as I talked to you about your story, the words of Jesus in one of the parables that he tells kept coming to mind, where he says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with little, therefore I'll entrust you with much." And that's fully how I see your story. You're a guy who said, God, you've given me a lot already. I need to be more faithful with it. This is not going in the right direction. You started to dig in, let God show you how to be more faithful with it, but then he's given you more. And really that word entrust is an important word for you, because you're not just seeing this as like, hey, I'm even more successful and I've got more disposable income. Really, this isn't so much even about you. You see this as an opportunity, as a responsibility that you've been entrusted with. Yeah. All of these people, all of these stores, this whole organization. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
It's actually scary. I reflect back to the service you did a little bit after you were named head pastor, and you stood up here and talked about all the wonderful history of this church and what happened, if something was to happen to it on your watch.
Yeah. I remember that message very well.
So, but that resonated with me that that you were dealing with the same struggles I was. This amazing blessing, and what if I screw it up? I mean, as I said, I've got 645 families right now that are relying on me not to screw this up, and it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and for you haven't been paralyzed by fear. You really have taken that responsibility to heart, and so you treat your employees very well. You're too modest to say this, but I know that your employees are paid better than other people in the same industry who basically do the same thing that you do in other markets. You really take care of those who work closest with you. That's important to you, not just to say, hey, God's given me this, awesome for me, good on me, right, but really to say, I want to help make the lives of these 600 plus families better. Mm-hmm. That's something that God wants me to do, and that's really to be commended in all of that. And as we talked, I listened to you and I thought, wow, you've come to such great convictions about leadership, and you've made some really bold and decisive moves, gutsy moves as a leader of your company. And as you talked more and more, I thought, man, what is your secret? Where did you learn all this? And I even asked you that. I said, where did you learn all of this stuff? How did you come to all of these convictions? I was frankly looking for some insider information here. I'm like, okay, let me read those books, because I think those could help me. And your answer blew me away. Do you remember what you answered?
I do. Yeah, I said St. John.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Now, Rick, am I paying you for this? To say this, by the way.
Not yet, but we will talk later.
Frankly, it might be worth a little bit of something, but. No, but it totally blew me away, because here's what I knew. I knew that you were basically not going to any church 5-6 years ago. I remember when you were brand new at St. John over warehouse, 5 o'clock service. I remember that when you and your wife walked in. And I remember watching as you became more faithful, and I heard about how God was doing things in your family life. In fact, just in the last service, I'm going to get choked up about this, just in the last service, we kind of had a spontaneous moment, and your wife, Stacy, who was not raised in the Christian faith, finally decided to be baptized in our service today, just in the last service, which is...
very much. Thank
you. So, I mean, I knew that there was this personal journey, but I had no idea that St. John had been a part of this other side of your life, your business life. Just briefly, I mean, talk about what this church has meant in your journey.
Yeah, so, as you mentioned, as I said earlier, this amazing woman was placed in my life, so I quickly put a ring on her finger before she could wisen up. And we moved to Baldwin and came to St. John and just immediately felt at home. But what really has done it for me is that, in every series that St. John has done, I've been able to pull something from it. Not just for me personally, but to affect and change the culture of my company. It is, I've restructured the entire culture of my company based on all the series and teachings over the past few years. And even to today, I can just still take stuff from it and take it right into my company, and God just keeps pouring the blessings.
Yeah, that's wild. And it's just so humbling for us as a church. I hope you're humbled by that too, that God is showing up in real ways and doing a work of life change. So the last couple of years have been incredible years of life change for you as a family. And God is not done, but what is your focus as you look to your future?
Well, in a very long and windy path, God led me to St. John's, and St. John's changed my life forever. And He's blessed me with this vehicle. I don't want to look at my company as a company. I want to look at it as a vehicle. And I want to do the same for others, I think this is it, this message. And when it's all said and done, I'll have 1,000 employees. Right now we're in 11 states, and I don't know how many more we'll take on, but it's I want to be able to preach to the people that work for my company that if you live a godly life and you give back, and it's endless what He's willing to do for you. And I get to use the company they're working for as the vehicle to teach them. So for me, I think that's going to be the most exciting next step.
Yeah, you get to share your story of life-changing, God's story of favor and faithfulness. It's really powerful. Well, thanks for what you're doing. It's really powerful, and thanks for sharing your story. Can you thank Rick again, everybody?
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.